Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Acharya has spent some time talking about the etymology of the word Upanishad and how the very word reveals what is to be done, by whom, and what is the purpose. And as we saw, it is, Upanishad itself means Brahma Vidya, which is what will destroy samsara, which is what everybody wants, even if one doesn't know it. Get rid of all that is not wanted. And then he went on to show also that the same word Upanishad also, when you break it up etymologically, talks about Sakuna Brahma, that is Bhakti. You know that Brahman is a formless, not something elsewhere, is Avyaya, Akhanda, and it really is the self. A self which completely disappears once you understand what we talk about. There is no self. But that understanding of Brahman is what we're all striving for. In the process of striving for that Brahman, we need a lot of help. We need a lot of grace, anugraha. We need the grace of elders, even if they are not really people who know. But the very fact that they're elders is something where we seek their blessings. Parents, other elders in the society. We require the grace of the Guru. Without Guru's grace, it is almost impossible to gain this knowledge. Shastra says so. And there's a clear logical reason why it says that. And most of all, we need Ishvara's grace. That's a very interesting statement. We need Ishvara's grace. All it means is we need grace to gain that grace of Ishvara, which is simply an understanding of the true nature of Ishvara. Ishvara is not something with 2 hands or 4 hands with a shankar, chakra, or with a crown, or all kind of ayudha. That is an imagery that we have for our own benefit. Because for us to work with a formless, to gain the blessing of the formless, to understand I am that formless, is very difficult for the human brain to conceive of. Therefore, we need an Ishvara, Saguna Brahman. That Saguna Brahma Ishvara is a necessary step in the process. And Acharya takes some pains to explain that Upasana to Saguna Brahma Ishvara is also called Upanishad. The word Upanishad can be broken down to also mean that Saguna Brahman. And you will find in many Upanishads, there is a lot of discussion about karma and upasana. They are not moksha, but they are a necessary condition to be fulfilled before moksha jnanam can be obtained. So he talked about the fact that Upanishad also means Saguna Brahma. So he said, where is that? Agni Vidyaya, Vidyaya, Dvitiyena Varena, Prarthamanayaha, Svargaloka Palaprapti Hetutvena, Garbhavasa Janma Jaradi, Upadrava Vrindasya, Lokantare Pauna Punyena, Pravuttasya, Avasadayitritvena, to weaken, to not totally destroy. In this case, Avasadayitritvena means that which will really weaken the samsara. Svargaloka is also part of samsara. You can't get away from it. But the whole samsara has on us will get reduced. So, Avasadayitritvena Shaitilya Apadanena Dhatu Artha Yogat Agni Vidyapi Upanishad iti uchyate. Agni Vidya is only for gaining lokas. But lokas is also, we said, the Artha Kama Dharma Purushartha. That will also go. Okay, again, it goes from the Upanishad itself, Svargaloka Amrtatvam Bhajante. So this Amrtatvam we saw is Apekshika Amrtatvam, a relative Amrtatvam, because in this Svargaloka, later you will see when Nachiketa talks about a second Varam, Amrtatvam in the Svargaloka means there is no old age, there are no diseases, there is no death. Yamadharma Raja himself is not allowed inside. He would be stopped at the gate. There are some places where Yamadharma Raja cannot go. And these lokas are one of them. So he can't go. also can be gained by the study of Upanishad, by praying to Ishvara. Then you will find that in many places in the Upanishad, this word Nanu appearing. Nanu has several meanings. That is the Avyaya Shabda. It does not decline. It can be used in any context to mean either an objection or a doubt. What you said, I don't understand, or I have some other doubt in my mind. You explained that the word Upanishad indicates that Vidya, because now a noun, because the Kvip Pratyaya we saw, that noun, one who helps us, not helps us, one who destroys samsara, one who gives us a state where all the things that we don't want are removed. And this funny argument, I don't know, I'm sure Shankaracharya also had a variety of students. Some of them will ask very fundamental questions. Some of them will ask very deep questions. True, any set of students, depending upon their readiness. So here is one. His question is, his doubt is, if you want, okay, I accept what you're saying about the word Upanishad. Not only does it talk about that Vidya, Brahma Vidya, also talks about gaining apekshika amritatvam. Brahma Vidya is amritatvam. It can also gain apekshika amritatvam. But why do people refer to the book also as Upanishad? If you look at this book we have, it says Kathopanishad. Why is the book called Upanishad? His argument is like this. Just because I have the book, will it remove samsara? Will it remove all the hetu for dukkha? If that were true, then every donkey should be able to get moksha. Therefore, if a donkey, they all printed in paper or earlier in palm leaves, a donkey will eat it or a goat will eat it. That should get moksha, no? If the book was Upanishad, and if by the definition of Upanishad that Acharya gave, we say that the book will give you moksha, removal of samsara. That doesn't seem appropriate. Why should the book be called Upanishad? Personally, I find this question should be coming from somebody who is arguing for the sake of argument. I don't know if there's any deep basis for such a question. But he's asked clearly, Nanu. Said, Nanu, I don't understand why you call this Upanishad. Because having a book or sleeping with the book under my pillow at night, will I get moksha? That is not what happened. Then how can you say this is Upanishad? Because your definition of Upanishad is very clear. That which gives freedom, absolute freedom. Clearly somebody who not understood. So he says, Nanucha Upanishad Shabdena
Upanishad Sabdena
Adhyetaraha
Adhyetharah
Grantham api
Grantham api
abhilaban abhilabanti.
Abhilabanti.
Upanishad Shabdaha Adhyatera Taraha. The ones who study, they call this also, they refer to this book also as Upanishad. The Vidya is Upanishad by your definition. Book is only some paper with some words in there. And maybe in his time, palm leaves with words in it. They call it Upanishad. That is why they say Upanishadam Adhimahe Adhyapayama iti cha. So people say that I am teaching Upanishad or I am learning Upanishad, referring to the book. No. Any subject matter book is referred to by the same name. If you have a book on, for example, human anatomy, that Vidya is contained in that book because it's all words. Grantha is collection of words. The words they contain the Vidya. The book on human anatomy does not contain bones and flesh and parts of the body. And yet we call it human anatomy. A book on geography does not have the mountains in them or rivers in them or continents in them, but it has knowledge of all that. Yet we call it book. We call it by the same name. Geography, Indian history. Whether you write it correctly or not, there's a book called Indian history. But that book contains not the old monuments and war field and things like that. It contains knowledge of Indian history. But his argument is that book should not be called Upanishad. The next line says, Evam Naisha Doshaha, but we will hold it for the moment. We will see where it fits. Avidyadi samsara hetu visharana dehe.
Avidyadi samsara hetu visharana dehe.
Tadi dhatvarthasya
Tadidhatvarthasya
Granthamatre asambhavat
Grandhamatre asambhavat
Vidyayancha sambhavat.
Vidyayancha sambhavat.
Reiterating his argument. This sadi dhatu artha, that you said the dhatu artha, that vidya removes avidyadi samsara hetu visharanadehe. Because the meaning of the words, you said that they will remove samsara. But this is not possible. Granthamatre asambhavat. How can you say with only the book you can get it? So the book definition, book name called Upanishad is inappropriate. You should use some other word. I don't know what word he is not suggesting any word, but he should say not call it Upanishad. Why? Vidyayam cha sambhavat. Only by the Vidya that is contained in the book can you call this Upanishad. Therefore, what you defined Upanishad as Upanishad by analysis of the word appropriate for the Vidya, but the book itself should not be called Upanishad. So, na evam naisha dosha should now come here. Because now he is refuting this argument. Although I don't know why that has gone there. Evam naisha doshaha.
Evam
Evam naisha doshaha.
These words you will find very often in the Bashyam. Nanu and Evam naisha doshaha. This error that you're pointing out is not an error. How? I will tell you how. Grantasyapi
Grantasyapi
Gandasyapi
adartyena
tadarthena
tat shabda upapattehe.
tat sabda bhavatyeva.
It is appropriate to call the Grantha, the book containing all those words, also Upanishad. What is a Grantha? Grantha is only a collection of words printed on paper or printed on palm leaves. That Grantha has the word which gives you the Vidya, which is Moksha. So it is correct to call this also Upanishad. And he gives an example. Ayurvai Ghritam Ityadivat.
Ayurvaidatam
Ityadivat.
In normal language also, this is from the Upanishad. Ayuhu vai Ghritam. Ghritam is ghee. Ghee is Ayu. Ghee is not Ayu. But those statements are made. Ghee is not Ayu. But what it implies is by consuming ghee in reasonable quantities, every day you can increase longevity. It doesn't use all those words. There are some words are missing there. Ghritam vai ayuhu. Ghritam is ghee, and for the technical meaning, Ghritam is that butter which is melted in the fire. Called Ghritam. In the ghee that is used in yajna, you don't use Ghritam. You're not supposed to use Ghritam. Although we all use Ghritam only, there is another word for it, which what is the word? Arjyam. Arjyam is what is used, what should be used in the fire of the yajna. Arjyam is butter which is melted in the sun. That is called arjyam. So correctly speaking, that is what should be used. But what happens? Shortcut. We don't have the patience arguing that in those days they used it, but now we don't have to. It's the same thing. But in yajna, this is what has happened. In yajna, when you light a fire, you're supposed to light the fire by churning wood. That's the correct way to do it. But we don't use a shortcut, matchbox technology. I've not seen any Pandita who is doing a yajna lighting a fire by the traditional method. Again, one can argue that there was no matchbox those days. You had to produce fire by using this process only. From there, the fire has evolved to the next step when it's called strike anywhere matches. Haven't heard of that? You know, strike anywhere matches. What happens is you have the stick with the chemicals in that, basically phosphorus and magnesium and so on. And you strike any surface, the friction heat will light the fire. So and those days, in the early 1900s, people have been known to carry that in their pocket and suddenly get burnt because you hit it with your hand, it suddenly catches fire. Strike anywhere matches. Then they came up with the safety matches where you put part of the chemical in the stick and part of the chemical in the surface of the matchbox. So then you rub the two, the friction produces heat and that the thing catches fire. Nowadays, of course, we don't even use that. We use gas lighters. Click and fire comes out. But the traditional method is to light the fire by the process of churning. Like that, Bashyam is used for the fire, feeding the fire. But again, we take a shortcut. We buy from the market ghee and we use that. I don't know if there is any traditionalist who insists on using Bashyam these days. And I also don't know whether it will reduce or remove the effectiveness of the yajna. That also I don't know. So, Ghritam by Ayuhu. Even in normal speech we use, no? He's a tiger. Or he's a fox. Implying that he has certain quality of the tiger or of the fox. It's not that he's a tiger, meaning that he's got a tail and he's got 4 paws, and he has certain qualities, maybe the strength, maybe the fearlessness. That is all that is pointing out. So when you say he's a fox, because he's a very cunning person, that quality is all that you're saying, guna. He's not like a fox because he's like a long face, like a fox with a tail, with 4 legs. So the argument is, just because it is called, the Grantha is called Upanishad, it is guna. So he says, Grantasyapi tadarthena tat shabdatva upapattehe. Again, you will see the word upapattehe many times. Is appropriate. Is indeed correct. Ayurvai Ghritam ityadivat. Like you say, Ayuhu vai Ghritam. Tasmad
तस्माद्
avidyayam mukhyaya.
विद्यायाम्
Sorry, I'm reading it wrongly. Tasmad vidyayam
तस्माद् विद्यायाम्
मुख्यया वृत्तिः
मुख्यया वृत्तिः
उपनिषत् शब्दः
उपनिषत् शब्दः
वर्तते
वर्तते
अन्ते तु
ग्रन्थे पथ्येति.
See, here does not mean, you put flowers and light a lamp and do namaskaram. You can't do it because we accept Upanishad as a pramana which will give us moksha. You can't do it. But here bhakti means it is gauna vritti. There is a mukhya vritti, which is the first meaning that Acharya expounded. That vidyaya mukhyaya vritti upanishabdaha vartate. That is the main primary meaning. If you take a secondary meaning, because of a certain guna, that is called gauna vritti. You take a particular guna. In fact, we used to do some exercise at one time in our training programs where people were encouraged to equate each of the participants to some animal or insect or one of the other ones. How do you do that? You only take one significant quality of that person and find an animal which has that in abundance. And a lot of people do this kind of exercises. That is only gauna vritti. He's a very wise man. So we say he's an owl. He's a very fearless man. He's a lion. Very strong man. He's a lion. So one guna, significant guna, we take and compare it with the animal which has the same guna as a predominant guna. So he says, Tasmat vidyayam mukhyaya vrittihi Upanishad shabdaha vartate. Granthe tu, on the other hand, grantha, the book, tu, by secondary meaning, will be bhakti or gauna vritti. By doing this, Acharya has brought down by definition, by etymological analysis of the word Upanishad, to the 4 key elements in any text, any project, in fact. Any project you undertake, you write something, you have to give a talk somewhere, it must have these 4 elements clear in your mind. What are the 4 elements? What are you talking about? Otherwise, one will be rambling. If you're not clear about the subject, one will be rambling. We know a lot of people who do that. So, Vishaya is the first clear understanding of what we're talking about. And the second is, all right, I have the Vishaya clear in my mind. I should know who I am addressing. Who is the adhikari? What kind of qualification am I looking for in the person to whom this is being addressed? So important. In the first case, if you don't know what you're talking about, you could be talking rot. If you don't know who you're addressing, then also it could be completely go off track. Sometimes when you do classes for children, you can't use the same expression, same language, same sequence of things as you would use if you were talking to a lot of adults, even within adults. If you're talking to people who have already been studying Vedanta for a while, let us say you're talking about bhakti. How do you talk to people who have no exposure to Shastra as against somebody who's been studying Vedanta for a while and as against, say, small children? You can't use the same thing. Your prepared text has to change. So, adhikaritvam becomes very critical. So, if I don't know who I'm addressing, how am I going to address? A third element is, why are you doing this? I'm addressing bhakti to young children. On the subject of bhakti, I'm addressing these students. What is the purpose? What am I trying to achieve? The end purpose in this case may be that I want them to refocus their lives on Ishvara. bring more Ishvara into their lives. Whereas, if you're addressing another group of adults who've been studying Vedanta for a while, the purpose of talking about bhakti to them may be very different. So not only the content, not only the subject matter, but also the end result that you're trying to gain out of it. That also one must know. If these are not clear in your head, one could go astray. And lastly, this is the end result I want to get. This is the text I have. What is the relationship between them? Will the text produce the end result? I can't say. Let us take an example again. I'm talking to children about bhakti. Or maybe indirect will come, but let's say. But I want them to do very well in karate. What's the relationship? I'm going to talk about bhakti, and suddenly I say that they should do very well in karate class. Like I said, bhakti is such a wide subject. Even there you can connect. But really speaking, there's no direct connection. So, what is the sambandha between the text and what you're trying to achieve? It's also equally important. Now, when I first studied this, called Anubandha Chatushtaya, Chatushtaya means fourfold, I was flabbergasted. My God, our ancestors knew a thing or two. Today, if you go to a management course, they will teach you all this. Different words they will use. But this was written, God knows how many, thousands of years ago. Anubandha Chatushtaya. I have worked with a lot of people who are going to write a book, who are going to write an article, who are going to have to give a speech elsewhere. And I asked them to write this down, the Anubandha Chatushtaya, and they're struggling, they were struggling. Because you have not thought through what is the subject you're addressing. They keep going various places because they've not defined what they're going to do. Who are you addressing? Therefore, they use words, they use sentences, they use concepts which may not be appropriate for that group. Anubandha Chatushtaya is a phenomenally good thing. Acharya, in fact, if you take any of the texts, Vedanta texts, you will find all four are addressed. Here, Acharya says, Evam
Evam
Upanishad
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 Nirvachanena
Nirvacanena
Nirvachanena Eva
Nirvacanena iva
Vishishtodhikari Vishishtha Adhikari
Vishistodhikari
Vidyayam Uktaha.
Vidyayam
Very, very clear. The Vishishta Adhikari, the specific person whom this is addressed, Vidyayam Uktaha, he has to be a mumukshu. Therefore, Brahma Vidya becomes relevant. If he has no idea of mumukshutvam, his only interest in life is to attend a 3-year course and hope that at the end of it he'll do his business very well, then we got a problem on your hands. So, Vishishta Adhikari, Vishayascha,
Vishayascha
Vishishta Uktaha Vidyayaha
Visishta Vidyayaha
Param Brahma
Param
Pratyagatma Bhutam.
Pratyagatma
What is the Vishaya? Vishishta Uktaha Vidyayaha Param Brahma Pratyagatma Bhutam. That is the Bashyam. What is that we are trying to learn? What is the subject matter there? Understand Brahman. Understand the nature of Brahman. And here we always called it Pratyagatma Bhutam. Pratyagatma Bhuta, Pratyagatma, subject of Pratyagatma. That is the one that is innermost. Now we have to unfortunately use words like this because otherwise, what is the starting point for anybody? You start by saying, I am the Sharira, I am the mind, I am the senses, I am my thoughts. A lot of philosophers give you all this. I think, therefore I am. But listen, this is not what we are studying. We are studying Pratyagatma. Because we want to negate these things, the Shastra uses the word Pratyagatma. But Pratyagatma is not something inside one individual. If we go like that, there will be many Pratyagatmas. That's not what Shastra is saying. It's Akhanda. How can it be Pratyagatma? Someone has to understand those words also very correctly. That Brahman, Atma, the self which is not even non-existent, that self is what our subject matter is. That is what we are trying to study, understand. That self exists, I exist, is an inevitable conclusion. Nobody can deny that. And yet I don't know this I. So that is what I am trying to study. Pratyagatma. So Vishayascha Vishishta Uktaha Vidyayaha Param Brahma Pratyagatma Bhutam. So that is the Vishaya, that is Adhikari who is a Mumukshu. Even if person does not understand moksha yet, but he understands that there is something to be gained which is different from all these other things that lokas can give me. Therefore, he said earlier, one who does not care for the results that you can get in this loka or in paraloka. He is with Trishna, doesn't have any Trishna. Because he has looked at them and he said, this is, while it's great, I have to get some kind of satisfaction from this, it's great, but this is not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is something much, much bigger. With that understanding, one can call this person a Mukshu, even though he's not understood Mukshu. That Mukshutvam is critical, and therefore the Vitrishnatvam is also critical. He is the Adhikari. He doesn't, here we don't talk about an Adhikari in terms of saying that you have to qualify in an exam. You don't have to qualify in an exam. You have to understand, you must have an IQ of 150 or more. No, that's not the condition at all. The only condition is, do you realize that there is something much, much more to be gained, and that's available only in the Upanishad? That something more to be gained is available only in the Upanishad. And therefore, I have a commitment to gain that. I have Shraddha in the Upanishad. Those are the qualities we're looking for. When I have Shraddha, when I have absolute clarity in my mind, otherwise, how would somebody go and dedicate 4 years of his life only studying this and dropping everything else in life? You can't do that. Unless that kind of absolute clarity is there. That is the Adhikari. And that is the Vishaya. And what is the Prayojanam? Prayojanancha
प्रयोजनं च
Asya Upanishadaha
अस्यापनिषदः
Atyantiki
आत्यन्तिकी
Samsara Nivrittihi
संसारनिवृत्तिः
Prapti Lakshana.
ब्रह्मप्राप्तिलक्षणा
Samsara Nivritti. Getting rid of samsara. And Atyantiki, completely getting rid of samsara. Means what? Means recognizing the non-self-existent nature of samsara. That recognition. That is the prayojanam, which then leads to Brahma Prapti Lakshana. You don't have to gain Brahman, there's nothing to gain. You have only gained the knowledge that I am already Brahman. I am not an individual Devadatta. Individual Devadatta comes because of Ahankara. Ahankara is non-existent. And yet it seems to play such a powerful role in all lives. So you have Black Lives Matter, Dalit Lives Matter, all sorts of things. Because we have not been able to see beyond that. So that is the Prayojanam. Brahma Prapti Lakshanam. Limitation of the language, we have to use the word saying Brahma Prapti. Brahma Gametrutvam. Gaining Brahman, going to Brahman. Those are all limitations of language. Knowing Brahman, knowing a self to be Brahman, Atma eva Brahman. So, understanding that Atma, Brahma, Om, everything is just one word. Prayojanam chasya Upanishadaha atyantiki samsara nivrittihi. So that gives you the prayojanam. And who can get the prayojanam? Unless you're an adhikari, you're not going to gain this. Unless there is absolute clarity that what I'm looking for is this, that I'm a mumukshu. Or better still, I'm a jignasu. I understand that mokshutvam, moksha is going to come by knowing. Therefore, I want to know. I'm a jignasu. Only then can the person gain this. That adhikaritam is important. What is the sambandha? Sambandhaschaiva
Sambandhaschaiva
bhuta prayojane uktaha prayojane.
भूतप्रयोजने
Very clear. You have the Vishaya, which is very clear. There is Brahma Vidya. You have Adhikaritvam, which is very clear. You have the Phala, which is very clear. This Sambandha becomes automatic. What kind of Sambandha? Normally in the world, we do certain karma and we have certain end result, and there is Sambandha. Sadhya sadhana sambandha. That which is to be gained and the means by which you gain that is called sadhya sadhana sambandha. Here, the sambandha is slightly different. Pratipadhya pratipadika sambandha. That to be known, and that cannot be known without this knowledge available in the Upanishad and to be unfolded by a guru. Pratipadika, Pratipadhya Sambandha. Because that knowledge is moksha. There is nothing else to gain after that. It is the difference between let's say, I don't know, music. My sadhana is the learning process, is the practice, and my sadhya vastu is to be able to sing very well, for example, correctly. So what happens? I have to learn, then I have to practice, and then I will get my result. But here, it is pratipadaka pratipadhya sambandha. I just have to know by learning what the Upanishad says. That knowing that nature of Brahman is the sadhya vastu. It's already known. Already sadhya. Pratipadaka pratipadhya sambandha. All I have to do is understand the reality. There's nothing to do after that or before that. There is something to do before that because there is a certain amount of effort that goes into the early stage. When you're getting ready for this knowledge, there is sadhana sadhya sambandha. Therefore, in the Adhikaratam itself, he says, Mukshutvam, Viveka Vairagya, Ramadamadi Shatka Sampatti, all that I have to gain. Those are results I have to gain in order to be ready to gain this knowledge. There is sadhana sadhya sambandha to gain so that I get the pratipadika pratipadhya sambandha between this text and what is already known. Which means I just have to remove ignorance. Sadhya sadhana. It says, Ataha
अतः
यथोक्ताधिकारी विषय प्रयोजन संबंधायाः
यथोक्ताधिकारप्रयोजनसम्बन्धः
one word, only one word. यथोक्ताधिकारी विषय प्रयोजन संबंधायाः. Very good. बंधायाः विद्यायाः करतले न्यस्तामलकवत् प्रकाशत्वेन. Another googling. विशिष्टाधिकारी विषय प्रयोजन संबंधाः एताः वल्योः भवन्ति इत्यतः सा यथा प्रतिभानं याचक्षामहे I'll check this. I think it should be Vyachakshamahe. I'll check this. So, therefore, Ataha Yatha Ukta Adhikari Vishaya Prayojana Sambandhayaha Vidyayaha. Those four sadhana chatushtaya. That should be clearly exposed. Karatale Nyasa Amalakavat. Amala is Amla. Nilikai. If you keep the Nilika in your hand, how clearly it is visible. This should be as clear as that. Prakashatvena, that reveal itself. So, for that, the Anubandha Chatushtaya, Vishishta Adhikari, Vishaya Prayojana Sambandhaha. With this in mind, Yetaha Valyoho Bhavanti. These chapters bring out all this. Ityataha, therefore, Taha Yata Pratibhanam, I will as I have understood, the Sampradaya there, teachers have taught him, Yatha Pratibhanam, as taught to me, as understood by me, as been cleared by me. Vyachaksha Mahe, I will now explain. Vyachaksha Mahe is Bahuvachanam. But here it is used again to show the Sampradaya. He is not saying, you should address me as, like you address kings, for example. No. Vyachaksha Mahe, we expound, we explain, meaning the whole parampara. Vyachaksha Mahe. With this, he will move into with this introduction. This whole section is his Sambandha Bhashya. Acharya will move into the actual text, which we will take up in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.